Today you're going to multiply polynomials, but before we do that, I want to remind you about adding polynomials, which is what you did yesterday. I don't want you to get adding confused with multiplying. So when we add polynomials, we combine like terms. So I told you yesterday to line up the terms that are the same variable, the same exponent, and then we simply add the coefficients. So that's 6x squared. And here we have x to the first, so that's going to be plus 2x. And then negative 1 plus 1 is just 0. So that's adding. We add the coefficients, we keep the exponents the same. Okay, now we're going to multiply. Now we're going to multiply a monomial by a polynomial and then polynomials by polynomials. So in order to multiply a polynomial by a monomial, you will need to use the distributive property and the properties of exponents. Okay, now we want to find the product. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply the numbers. And if you remember from before, if we do x cubed times x squared, because this represents 3 x's, this represents 2 x's, instead of writing this out every single time, we can just add the exponents. So we're going to multiply the 3 and the 4. That will give us 12. Remember, if we don't see a number, it's always 1. It's not 0. So we're going to take the c times c squared, so that's going to be c cubed, and the d squared times d, so that's going to be d cubed. Now we're going to distribute to the second term. We have a positive and a negative, so that's negative 18. Again, c to the first and c to the first, that's going to give us c squared. D squared times d is going to give us d cubed. And then we're going to go to distribute to the third one. So 3 times 14, oops, let me move this cube down a little bit here. 3 times 14 is going to be 42, and c times c is going to be c squared. D squared times d squared is going to be d to the fourth, because we add the exponents. Okay, there's one for you to try. Now we're going to multiply a polynomial by a polynomial. So what we're going to do, anytime you multiply polynomials, every term in the first one has to be multiplied by every term in the second one. So what that means is if you have 3 terms in your first one, 3 terms in the second one, you multiply these two numbers and you should end up with 9 terms. So I would strongly recommend lining them up in columns as you go. And what I mean by that is, let's just start multiplying out here. We're going to distribute first. We're going to take the x squared times the x squared, so that will be x to the fourth, adding the exponents. X squared times 5x. We have second power here, first power here, so that's going to be plus 5x cubed. And then we're going to multiply the x squared times that negative 2, so that's going to be negative 2x squared. Now we're going to have to go get the second term. And make sure you take the sign, oops, my pen's a little blobby there. Make sure you take the sign with the number. So we're doing negative 4x times x squared, so that's going to give us negative 4x cubed. I'm going to line it up underneath the other cubed term, so negative 4x cubed. And then we have to take negative 4x and multiply it by 5x, so that's minus 20x squared. And then we have to take the minus 4x and multiply it by the negative 2. So that's going to be plus 8x. Okay, we have one more to do. And that one is just to multiply everything. There's a purple here. Multiply 1 through the second polynomial. So that's just going to be writing it as just as it is. So we have an x squared. Let's line it up underneath the x squared. So here's x squared plus 5x and minus 2. All right, now when we add these, we're going to get x to the fourth. And this is a reminder from yesterday. You add the numbers, but you keep the exponents the same. So here this is going to be plus x cubed. And then we have a negative 2x squared minus 20x squared, so that's negative 22x squared plus an x squared. So that's going to be negative 21x squared. And then we're going to add the 8x and the 5x to give us 13x. And then we have minus 2. And there's your polynomial. Okay, you have one to try over to the side.